talking about the events of the day with Ray and Wayne. Gerard, thanks for coming here and doing this.
Yeah.
What I want to talk to you about is, as somebody that does a ton of stuff, I want to talk about like what you use in your life to stay sane.
Right.
Because as someone like myself, who like it's like I'll act in things, or I'll do stand up, or I'll do podcasts.
Right.
But I also put out records and do music and help other people put out their comedy music. And I use this as a way not to spread myself thin, but to just be creative in any way I can think of. And now I want to know about like your process, because you've done that same stuff of just tons of different things.
And that was my first real exposure to comics. I had a little exposure to some Archie comics, a little younger, but so was those, and I fell in love with them right away. And it seemed like a real. So I started drawing my own and writing my own.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really good way to express myself.
And do you still have any of those comics like that you were like? And was it Harvey Pekar style, where they you're just drawing lines and stick figures, or were you really getting into the art and the story simultaneously?
I was getting into the art and the story simultaneously. I think the first character I created was named Icicle.
Bicycle?
Icicle.
Oh, Icicle.
And he was like this little kid with ice powers,
But he wasn't Iceman.
He wasn't Iceman, no. No, he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's do you ever feel the need to kind of like throw in Iceman, or Ice? What was Iceman?
Icicle?
Icicle. It's like, will Icicle ever come back in any way?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I may have one drawing of him somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I did one in art school. I was like, oh, let me draw Icicle.
Nice.
So I drew him, and it was kind of fun. It was like updated, But it was comics first.
Yeah. And so you're young and you're into comics, and then when is music the next interest?
Yeah. The next thing that comes to me is music. I'd gotten an acoustic guitar probably like around maybe the 4th grade, and so I had taken a couple lessons. Didn't really stick with them, but then just having that guitar in my life, later on I would come back to it.
Yeah.
And I remember when my parents bought me my first electric guitar off of one of my friends, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like kind of a Les Paul guitar.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of started making up my own songs, and then that was my big thing. I wanted to be in a band, and so I joined this band with a couple kids from school, and I got kicked out.
Oh no! What was their reason?
I was really bad at guitar.
Why don't you go back to making comic books?
Yeah, I couldn't play. I wanted to do original songs, and they wanted to do cover songs.
Really? What kind of do you remember? What?
Yeah, they want. The reason I got kicked out is because I couldn't play Sweet Home Alabama. So then I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? That was my big plan. I was going to be in a band. So I was like, I guess I'm going to learn how to really write and draw comics. So then I spent a whole summer like tracing Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Tom McFarlane, like just tracing it all.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after that summer, I stopped needing to trace, and I was able to then kind of slowly develop my own style.
So in a way, you wouldn't play covers in that band, but then you were essentially using that whole summer to do covers of comic books.
I was doing covers, of comics, but it was really like to learn how to draw, and I think that's a valid way to kind of learn, is by imitating others.
Yeah, because it's almost just like the physical memory of like moves and whatnot. And
yeah. Like, how do you get that shape? How do you get that line? And then it became more automatic. So that was then my focus, because I was like, well, I wasn't able to pull off the band thing.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll be a comic creator,
And there's still a lot of time before that worked out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there is.
But is it a thing? Because I know sometimes when I'm saying like writing, I got to get a script in, and I kind of just get tired or just a bit fatigued of that process.
Yeah.
And then I like that I can go and play drums or go and pick up a guitar.
Right.
And was that still kind of happening?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
It wasn't until like later in my life
that you were able to just go.
Kind of go back and forth. Yeah.
So you had a laser focus in this time.
Yeah, because I had already felt that I had failed in music.
You thought that was it.
So then my fallback was comic artist.
Yeah. So not even for the joy of playing music, because you like. So was there a bit of like you're like if the music thing isn't going to be my main deal in my life, I don't want to do it at all.
Kind of at the time, but I was also like 15, 14.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
which is like, that's the kind of thing that you would do, that you're like, it's like, no, I'm done with that, such childish things. That's just music. I'm going to create comics.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So then, So then, you know, that led to me writing my first comic at 15. And getting published, and that was a really cool experience.
How, is there... That must have been insane. Did you know other people your age doing comic books?
Yes. The artist of the series was a year older than me in high school. I think I was a sophomore and he was a junior, and he was the best artist I'd ever seen.
Wow.
Like, I thought he was better than like professionals.
Yeah.
And his name was Jose Santos, and he was phenomenal, and we became friends. And then we started making comics together. And then he was the artist at like 16 years old. He was published. I think I was 15, he was 16.
That's crazy. And then, so in a way, you kind of put together another band, like another, it's like at least like a collaboration or in some kind of a scene.
Yeah, and then one of my friends so right around this period, I discovered this comic shop, and it became a really big, important part of my life. And at that comic shop, I met our inker, Dana Green, who was an art teacher. In East Orange, I think. He became the inker of the book. So then we did that for a couple issues, and I think we just kind of, I don't know if it was that we got bored of it, or, but I guess we felt we had accomplished something, so like, let's move on to other stuff.
Yeah.
There's only 2 issues of it.
There's only 2 issues, and at the time you felt like, you're like, we did it.
Yeah, it was kind of, you know, I've always struggled with like sticking with things.
So you do the 2 issues, you know, like, and I'm sure at that time, was it also kind of, were you hanging out with these guys as well? Like, was it? Oh
yeah, me and Jose lived like 3 blocks from each other.
Nice.
So we were together all the time working on new stuff.
So being creative and like within like a friendship, which I felt like was very important to me when I was growing up, just having friends that like making little sketches or you know making fake bands.
Yeah,
because that's the way we hung out.
Yeah, that's how I like to hang out.
Yeah.
Almost all of my friends I ended up creating projects with. And that was fun. We would hang out in my mother's kitchen and sit at the kitchen table and then I got a whiteboard really young too. We put a whiteboard up in the kitchen and like
just turned it into the writer's room.
Yeah, that's what we did. And then I used those comics to get into the School of Visual Arts in New York.
Yeah.
So that helped me get in. At the time, my drawing had gotten pretty decent too, and I had an art class that went like 3 or 4 periods in high school.
Whoa.
My senior year was really cool. I was only in school for like that art class, 1 English class, and then I went and worked at the supermarket.
Jeez.
So I figured all these ways to get out of school. Like I did work study, and I did this really long art class. So
were you a good student?
I was okay. I was like kind of a C average, you know. But stuff like art, I would get like a B in.
Yeah, and I would raise the GPA.
Yeah. But I was generally a C student. I only did the minimum of work to get me through.
But like, it's like once I found like ways that I like to be express myself artistically, I found myself being less interested in school politics, like in school, like the social scene, because it's like, you know, once I get out of school, I could go to a record store or a comic book shop or get together with my friends and actually make stuff.
Yeah.
While everyone else was, you know, doing stupid stuff like homework.
Yeah, at a certain point in like math class, and I had to take like the remedial math because I'm really bad at math.
Same.
So I failed algebra twice, and then I finally passed in summer school, and then they made me do geometry, and I was like, all right, I've been here, I'm gonna fail this, and then I'm gonna have to go to summer school. So I asked them to put me in like really basic math, where they really just showed you how to write checks, which is funny because if you're in basic math, you're probably not gonna be writing a lot of checks.
Yeah.
At least that's how I saw it at the time.
No, math was terrible for me.
Nothing wrong with being great at basic math.
Yes. So like you're kind of, you have this whole other world outside of high school.
Yeah.
That didn't have anything to do with the people in high school.
Right.
And
yeah, it was the comic shop. And another way that we were really creative together is we would play role-playing games together.
Oh, great.
That was the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
D&D?
What's that?
Was it D&D?
Well, it was D&D at first in the 3rd grade, and by the time I had become part of this group at the comic shop, we were playing everything from like GURP Supers to Call of Cthulhu. I'm trying to remember all. We would constantly, there would be like 5 games a week.
Yeah.
And then we would do these things called all-nighters, where we would go to somebody's house and spend the night and stay the weekend. And then we would just play all night.
That's great.
And I learned how to become a storyteller by being like a game master, like a dungeon master.
Yes, yeah, that is like such a great way to like learn to like perform it all. It's some of the best stand-ups I know grew up being dungeon masters.
Yeah.
Just a way to get a point across and bring some emotion.
And it was really creative too, because you would create your own worlds. And as a GM, I always like to have a partner. I always really like having a collaborative partner.
Yeah.
I've always done really good with collaborators. And so even with my role-playing games, I would have another player that was kind of the inside player that I wouldn't give special treatment to. In fact, they would have it hardest sometimes, but they were helping me tell the story. So we would sit there and brainstorm like, all right, what is this world?
Yeah.
All this. And they would that player would kind of help me keep everybody on track.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like cheating a little bit, I guess.
But it's still fun because it's supposed to be fun.
And it was all about the stories. And, my friend Stu and I, we created this really amazing like Star Wars universe. I mean, we played Star Wars, so it was already an established universe, but we created this really amazing Star Wars game. It took place in the future.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we played that through college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're still playing through college. To be somebody established that would bring in numbers, and that's kind of the way it still is, unfortunately. So I had unsuccessfully I had done a couple of tryouts and things like that. I got a page in one book, and it wasn't that I didn't feel like I had failed at that, because then that led me to getting this job doing toy design.
Okay.
Where I could kind of hone my craft, and so.
And that's like a job, like toy design is like a place where you're employed, you're going in, so it's 9 to 5.
Yeah, I was in Hoboken, it was called Fun House, and I would commute every day and just go there, and I'd get to draw all day, and my art got so much better, and I was learning how to do turnarounds of action figures.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I was working on a lot of Marvel stuff.
And that's a real earn while you learn kind of environment.
And I got paid really well, and that was right when I started to pick up the guitar again.
Oh, because you like relegated your creativity at work, drawing and whatnot, and that part of your brain to those hours at work.
Right.
So then you get home and you're like, well, I've been drawing all day. I want to, use a different part of my brain.
Right.
Different part of my creative brain.
And I forgot, like before the toy job, because that was when I was like settled in. I was an intern on this show called Sheep in the Big City, which was a Mo Willems show.
Oh, wow.
Which is on Cartoon Network, and I was basically a photocopy boy, and I would just do that. And then I ended up pitching a show to the show's producer, and then I was in meetings with Cartoon Network for this Breakfast Monkey show I was working on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you
that's
just
before the toy job.
So you just had tons. You were like just kind of. You just had a creativity bounding out of you.
Yeah, totally.
In this way, and then and it was drawing. It was pitching show ideas. Were you writing scripts?
I was doing storyboard scripts.
Yeah, storyboard scripts.
Yeah, I was doing them like that. I would literally draw everything out for an animatic.
Oh, wow.
And then we made an animatic, and Cartoon Network. Well, then 9/11 happened. So like the day I was supposed to go and prep for our big Cartoon Network meeting was the day 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
And so then after that, nobody was coming to work.
Yeah.
I mean, to New York, and Cartoon Network was like, well, we're not going to be up there for a while.
Yeah,
you know,
they stayed in
obviously.
Atlanta.
You know. And then eventually they just passed on it because they had another food show called Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Which no one
I
ever heard
ended
of.
up loving. Oh man, we used to watch that on the bus and just laugh for hours.
But was there a little bit of you going, this should have been mine?
Not really, because it was so good.
Yeah, that was so
I
good.
was like, this is better than my show.
Yeah.
But they were also so different. They were very different. Breakfast Monkey was a lot different. It was like this little magical flying monkey that talked like Bjork. So it was just different. It was a little more innocent. It wasn't an adult show, but it wasn't really a kid show either.
Was there a little bit inside of you, or like, I wonder if we could get Bjork to actually do that?
I thought about it, but I got really good at doing Bjork's voice.
Can we hear some of it? No. Just a little bit.
No.
Just a wee.
You can watch the animatic on YouTube and you can hear me doing Bjork's voice.
And it was probably funnier than Dancer in the Dark.
I'm not seeing that, but I heard it's a really depressing
It's made out of tears.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So you're.
So 9/11 happens, I pick up the guitar again, and then I write Skylines and Turnstiles. And then I call Otter, and then I call Ray, and then I get Mikey, and then we just build this momentum.
Wow, so this is like this, and was it just because you, what was the feeling of like putting comics aside? Was it just because you kind of got fulfilled from the toy job, or was it just like this thing kind of, you just started feeling this other thing come out?
Yeah, I was feeling this other thing. It became my therapy.
Yeah.
You know, from the PTSD that everybody had experienced from 9/11 and how to process that. And I'm also somebody who at the time, I believe I was maybe on Wellbutrin and I was dealing with depression. I've got like a chemical imbalance. That's kind of how my depression works. So I take medication to keep me balanced. And it works for me. I know that doesn't work for everybody, but I'm a big proponent for it, you know. And it's kept me really level for the last 7 years.
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that's good. Good to see.
I know, I don't want to die anymore all the time. It's really, it's really interesting.
And so these songs just start coming out.
They just start coming out.
And then you're getting all these guys that you kind of play with there. Anyone from the Sweet Home Alabama band? Did you call them?
No. I heard they broke up. I don't.
What?
I'm just kidding. I don't know what happened to them. They were both really amazing players, I will say that.
Yes, of course.
They were cousins, and one was a drummer, one was a bass player.
Yeah.
And they kind of really liked Zeppelin. And that was just their thing.
That was their thing.
It was their thing.
And so, like, did you like learn to because you said you were a bad guitar player.
Yeah.
And then, like, so when you started picking it up, had you learned more, or was it just the doing of it that really kind of, or was it like having a lack of ability helping you?
You know what it is, like, well, being a little naive about it actually helped because I didn't fully understand chord structures yet.
Yeah.
So I would write something like Vampires Will Never Hurt You, and if you listen to the chords, and I'm doing a lot of weird stuff with like this finger being over here, and I'm picking it. It's
just whatever you're just.
I know the original chord for that song was like this. It was like the hand was way down.
Yeah.
And so that helped. And then I was, regardless of what kind of skill I had at the guitar, I was always able to write songs.
Yeah.
So even back in my art school band, I was writing the songs.
The monkey cartoon, were there going to be songs in that as well?
Yeah, there was, and I wrote one. Actually, my first collaboration with Ray Toro was this song in the Breakfast Monkey animatic called "Cruising for Crazy." You know, that was actually the first thing we worked on together.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was cool.
And so you know, just the way you like to have an idea, and then you bring in collaborators. To bring it to life, like you had with all these other things, and now like you're like, I have these songs, and I'm assuming they were just you and a guitar, like with a tape recorder, kind of putting them together, or did you?
I can't even remember if probably a tape recorder, and then like Ray really, and then we started collaborating on songs together. Just we would rent a rehearsal space and just go in there, and then Ray really helped me transpose those ideas that I would have into something that made sense.
Yes.
You know, he was such a guitar player. He was able to. Sometimes I was able to just sing stuff to him, and he would play it, but make it a lot cooler.
Yeah.
And
so even like singing like a riff that goes like this.
Yeah. If I couldn't play it on the guitar, I would sing it to him, and then that kind of is how I would sit in his room with him, and that's how we generated the sound of the band.
Yeah.
We'd sit together, and sometimes I'd have a guitar, sometimes not. And then Ray had his own ideas.
Yeah.
He was really like, he learned how to play through listening to metal records.
Yes.
So he would play along to Metallica records and stuff. And Pantera records, and that's how he
Respect.
that's how he figured it out. So he would help get this stuff out of me, and then that formed the sound. We were trying to take bits of everything we love, like, or it'd be like kind of driving and fast like punk, but then it'll have metal, and you know, the lyrics would be like storyteller lyrics. Like I was really inspired.
All the little things that you've been working on.
Yeah, all the little stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like I really liked Nick Cave, and he was a storyteller, and there wasn't a lot of storytelling happening in rock music at the time. It was very much like about relationships, boyfriend-girlfriend stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
especially like that area, you know, Jersey, you know, melodic hardcore, like Lifetime and whatnot.
Yeah. It was about like these kind of relationships, but nobody was doing really conceptual stuff or telling stories. So,
and I think that was a result like of pop punk just kind of being like, it's like everyone kind of just starts thinking about high school almost, like old 50s music.
Yeah, pop punk was about the high school experience, boyfriend-girlfriend stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
But then because of you had this fantastical mind, you could, you know, do similar epic storytelling.
Yeah, I wanted to build worlds with music.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we started to do together, and bringing in like gothic elements and bringing in things like vampires and building this kind of thing. And there was always a momentum in My Chemical Romance. We would, it just like, we'd have our first practice and the song worked. The second practice, we'd have a new song. The third practice, we had Mikey on bass. The fourth practice, we just, and every week there was a new thing that happened.
Yeah.
And then eventually Frank joined the band, and then, and we never stopped. It was like, oh, we have a show. Oh, then we have another show. Oh, now we're opening up for Jimmy World. Oh, it was like every
Wow, so having that quick.
Yeah, it happened really fast. There was a real momentum to it.
And so, you know, a lot of people here, we know the story, we know how great My Chemical Romance is, but there's a certain point you get to where you, because touring is tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
And you kind of have this idea where you're like, what, you do one show a night, you're on a bus the rest of the time, but you don't, a lot of people, like, and I didn't know this before I started going on these bus tours with Mystery Science Theater, where you do the show, and then it takes you a while to get, you know, done with the adrenaline, and then you sleep terribly on a bus.
Yep. That's what happens.
Once the bus stops, you sleep throughout the day just trying to recover from the night before, and you think you're going to get other stuff done, and you don't.
Well, I figured out how to like kind of game the system. So like I would, obviously I'd be just like you, full of adrenaline at night. I'd be up for a little while, but then luckily I'd still wake up at about 10.
Okay.
And then I had all this time until sound check.
Your brain wasn't mush from just feeling tired?
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. You know, and I think a lot of it is because even though I used a lot of creativity in My Chemical Romance, it was still like a therapy.
Yeah.
So I had this other creative itch I wanted to scratch.
Yeah.
So I would wake up and I really missed comics, and I was on Taste of Chaos, and I got a bunch of markers and stuff, and I would literally set up in the dressing room, and I started creating the Umbrella Academy that way.
So that happened within, like, you just started coming up with this while the band was going on. And was there something inside you kind of going like, it's like, I don't know, can I do both of these things at the same time, or am I going to have to choose?
The only thing I had to get rid of in my life was Warcraft. I literally quit Warcraft to write Umbrella Academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good choice. Yeah, exactly.
And Warcraft's cool, but I wanted to be a little more proactive.
Yeah.
And I was like, the longer you play that game, it just gets harder and harder. And
yeah.
I think I was killing plants in the jungle, and so something like broke inside me and died inside me. And I was like, I'm not gonna play this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing it for like 9 hours.
Yeah, you could have got something done in that time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with like disconnecting.
No, it's healthy to have that.
Yes, for sure.
But being creative is my way to kind of disconnect, and to really disconnect, I read. That's my favorite thing.
Okay,
It
yeah.
chills me out at night. I do it every night before bed.
And you know, so then you do Umbrella Comedy. It's a huge hit. You win awards. It gets turned into a show. You're working on another show. Like it's you know, you're still doing music. So now you're kind of like you're in that sweet spot where you're able to kind of. Is that something that came with age? Is how to not exhaust yourself with all your creative endeavors?
Yeah, no, it becomes really important to understand that you do have a limit to how much creativity you have. In a certain, you have a bandwidth, basically.
Yes,
it's not so much a limit. Your creativity could be limitless, but per day, you're only able to get out so much until you have to recharge, go to sleep, read a book, you know, do something like that, you know, and then the next day you're fresh again and you can get more out of you. But I try to be careful about taking too many projects because I only have a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah, art can overwhelm you.
It can.
Because it saves you, and it's like any other kind of substance where you want it to give you all those feelings all the time, but there is a finite amount of you know, endorphins that you can get from it.
Yeah.
And then it starts to kind of hurt because you're trying to write, and that's when you can start getting blocks.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, as we wrap up here, what's the kind of, to people who, a lot of people hear this, like, you know, cons are great because it's like a ton of creative people all in this place, and I'm sure they have different interests and they feel that they have to choose.
Yeah.
I was told that when I was playing in bands, but I wanted to do comedy.
I was told that a lot.
Yeah,
that
I was
had
told
to
that.
choose. And here's what I'll say about that. I actually do feel you need to focus on one. You could come to something else later, but sometimes you do need to hop around when you're trying to find out what the thing is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but I think focusing on one, getting that finished to a certain point where you can then present it to people or try to get a foot in the door and things like that.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of move on to the next thing. And each thing you do informs the next thing, and you learn from the first thing, and then you learn from the second, and you just keep going and going and going, and you kind of build up your own momentum.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Gerard, away, everybody. Thanks so much.